This is how you play Child is Father of the Man by Brian Wilson. Before I begin, as usual, I just want to talk a little bit about the structure and rhythmic patterns to the song. The song has appeared in various configurations over the years. The structure that I'm going to adhere to in this particular tutorial is going to adhere to the Brian Wilson Presents Smile 2004 structure. But I will also be going over the structure of the original 1966 backing track, which is very similar to the Brian Wilson Presents Smile arrangement, except that it begins and ends differently. The 66 backing track arrangement begins with a chorus and it ends with a chorus, but it's a half chorus at the end, and before you play it, there is a little descending bass line that you play. And also the bridge. So the bridge of the 1966 backing track version is actually, for the most part, the ending to the 2004 Brian Wilson Presents Smile version. There is one difference in terms of like how long you play that particular section. So there's a little bit of a difference there that I'll go over, but for the most part, they are pretty dang similar, I will say. So that is important to note. The other thing I want to note is the rhythmic patterns to the song. This song features a variety of rhythmic patterns to it. In the choruses, you're playing full chords and alternating your bass notes, doubling them up, playing them like this in the right hand, the specific chords, pretty much over and over again. The verses have more of a pattern where your left hand's going to be doing a lot of this stuff. Messed up a little bit there, but you get the idea. But there's also sections where it doesn't do that. So that's the choruses and the verses, and then of course there's the bridge / end tag, which has a rhythmic pattern that's very similar to how Wonderful operates with its broken chords throughout. So stuff like that is really what we're going to be doing here. Without further ado, let's begin. Starting off with the verses to the song. Again, the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version starts with a verse. The first chord that you're going to play is in your right hand, you're going to play a B. At the same time, in your left hand, you're going to play a F sharp. You're going to play these at the exact same time to start off this section of the verses. And the next thing you're going to do is in the left hand, first off, in your right hand, you're still holding down that B. So you're going to be holding down notes a lot in the verses. In your left hand, you're going to strike an E after striking the F sharp here. Okay, so next up, just doing that once more. Your left hand, you're going to strike the E flat or the D sharp, whatever you prefer to call it. In the right hand, you're going to be playing F sharp and C sharp at the same time. So you're playing these notes at the same time here while still holding down the B in the right hand. Okay, and finally, we're going to end with a C sharp or D flat if you prefer in the left hand. So that's the pattern here. So we're going to do that twice basically, and we're going to hold down the B throughout when we do it twice. Really what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be playing this pattern 4 times. But the reason I'm saying we're doing it in twos versus a single 4 is because on the third time that you do this pattern, you are going to strike the B again in your right hand. So all in all, it will play like this. just like that. That's how the verses start off. Okay, the second section in the verses, the second chords, plural, you're then going to play a B flat, or an A sharp if you prefer to call it that, in your right hand. And you're going to play a B in the left hand. Okay? Then after that, so first off, again, just like we did in the previous chord, we're going to hold down the A sharp or B flat, whatever you prefer to call it, throughout this instance of playing. So in this case, we're only going to play this pattern twice. So there's no striking the B flat / A sharp again in this instance, because we're only playing it twice. We're not playing it 4 times in total. So in the left hand, we're going to play a D sharp. Okay, let's do that again, just so you can see it again. So in the right hand, we're going to play G sharp and C sharp. And the left hand, we're going to move up to an F sharp in our left hand. And then after that, we're going to release everything except for the A sharp, and we're going to strike, we're basically going to go down again, playing this D sharp and then B. So it'll sound like this. So we're playing that twice, and again, we're only striking the A sharp once at the very beginning, and we're holding it down throughout. Now, I also want to say I'm playing this very slowly, just so you can see and so I can explain things better, but you would want to pick up the pace a little bit when you're playing this. Just a little bit. Listen to the studio recording for a sense of like how fast you should be playing. I also have a cover of the 1966 backing track version, piano arrangement for that I'm basically teaching here, but in the Brian Wilson Presents Smile arrangement instead. But the actual like patterns to the chords are the same. Like, the song is the song. So either way, just, make sure that you are playing fast enough. I'm playing here slow, but I'm playing slow on purpose. Okay, so far we have this. So that's what we have up to this point. Next chord, your left hand, you're playing a B and an E. In your right hand, we're playing B and D sharp. Okay, next, your right hand, you're going to hold down the D sharp still, but you're going to let go of the B. So don't really, just let the notes go. In your left hand, you're holding down the B, but you're going to release the E and then strike it. So we have this. Okay, so that's first part of this section. Okay, so let me play that one more time. Okay, so we're going to release the D sharp and the B in our left and right hands, or right and left hands respectively. And then we're going to strike the G sharp and the B. Now I use my thumb of my right hand to strike the B and my index finger to strike the G sharp, my index finger of my left hand, excuse me. And that's just what I use. You can use whatever's comfortable for you, of course. Okay, release the notes from before, and instead what you're going to do with your left hand once you release it is you're going to play an F sharp. So once again from the top of this section. Okay, next, after you hit the F sharp, you're then going to play a B in the left hand, same B as before in the left hand. So once again, from the top we have, oops, excuse me. Okay, so what's happening here is after we hit the B, your left hand's going to strike an E in the left hand, same E as before from the first chord, two-note chord that we struck at the beginning of this particular section. When you strike that E in your left hand, your right hand is going to play C sharps. So you're doubling up on the C sharps and you're playing them both at once and in conjunction with this E. You're going to hold down these C sharps a little bit. So you're not going to let go of it immediately. You're going to hold it down just a smidge longer than you otherwise normally would. And when you do that, let go of the E and play this G sharp in your left hand, and then go back to that E. So all together we have just like that. And I hold down the C sharps here. You don't have to hold it down for quite as long as I'm doing, but you want to give them a good strike, and you know, you want to just like have the sustain pedal going where it's really going to echo like that. So all together, this section goes like this. Just like that. Okay, next section for the verses, we're going to go back to the first chord that we played for the verses. Exact same chord, exact same patterns, nothing has changed, and you're still playing it 4 times, just like you did before. So after, you know, you play this, back into this. Okay. Next section, after we finish playing that again, we're going to start by playing B in our left hand. In our right hand, we're going to play a C sharp at the same time, just like that. Hold down that C sharp still, but release the B. And instead, when you release it, of course, you're going to play the E, just like this, just like that, okay? Next, didn't give that a good enough strike, but you get the idea here. Release the E, and when you do so, you're going to strike the next chord here, which is C sharp, A, G sharp. So once again from the top. And then we're going to strike the E again on the way back. You know, we're doing this kind of pattern to things, of course, as you know. But you're going to hold down this chord in the right hand as you're going for that E again. And then you're going to play a B again, and then E, and then just like that. So all together it will sound like this. So this is one of the few instances where you're holding down the chord in the right hand, like the full chord, until you get to this top part again, where you strike it once more. So it all it will all sound like this, or this section together will sound like this. Excuse me. Just like that. Okay. Now we've reached the last part of the verses. So from there, we're actually going to strike a D sharp and a B in the left hand again. Again, the same B is going to be played quite a bit for the verses. By now you should know that, if you've watched up to this point. Okay, so let me do that one more time. B and D sharp. Hold down that D sharp, let go of the B, and then you're next going to strike the F sharp. Then you're going to let go of that F sharp and strike in your right hand the full chord here, which is G sharp, A sharp, and D sharp. So again, following the same pattern we've been playing for the most part for the verses. you're gonna let go and then strike the F sharp again, and then go back down in your left hand to this B again. So again, from the top we have. Okay, so here is where we're gonna transition from the verses into the chorus. Now, to really do this, you have to strike the F sharp the second time around with your right hand. And the reason you have to do that is because your left hand has to go from up here roughly to down here. And it has to be timed right with what your right hand is doing. So really, when you're, let me just play this one more time and I'll explain what I mean here. Okay, so it has to be timed. Like what you're doing here with your left hand is you're gonna move it down to this low B, okay? And you're gonna hit that low B when you strike this chord the second time around. So really, you have to strike the F sharp with your right hand, in this case with your thumb, if you're using similar fingering to me. Because there's no way you can get down here in time otherwise. So just like that, it will go like this. Okay, so you're gonna hold down this last chord for a little bit as you're doing this little descending bass scale in your left hand. So the bass scale, which is gonna transition you from the verses into the chorus, is B, A, G sharp, G, just like that. Very simple. Okay, and that is the verses. So the verses throughout the song follow this exact same pattern with no exceptions. Okay, so next I want to talk about the chorus. The chorus, a lot of the chorus to this song is really vocal layering. So, you know, the style of piano cover that I do is really more so of a backing track. I'm not really emulating the melody per se all the time. I'm trying to emulate what the backing track is doing. And sometimes that means, you know, pretty much emulating what the piano or the harpsichord, if it's like a piano-like instrument or just a piano itself that's predominant in the backing track. Sometimes that just means doing what the piano or harpsichord is doing in the backing track. Other times it means combining what all the instruments are doing in various ways, or some of the more prominent instruments, what they're doing in various ways. So for something like this, it's just really supposed to be purely vocal accompaniment. So we're not really emulating what the voices do. That's really for you to do, if you can do it to some degree. But if you're gonna do it this way, this is how you do it. Your right hand is gonna play an A chord just like this. And you're gonna play it 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then an E chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? And you're alternating between these 2 chords. So it ends on this E chord 3 times, just like that. So that's how the chorus accompaniment in the right hand ends. Your left hand, what you're going to be doing in conjunction with your right hand, of course, is you're going to be alternating between F sharps and C sharps. Every 1 beat, so again, we're striking these for the most part, 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Except for the last time, which is just 3 times with this E chord. But what you're going to be doing is every time you hit a chord for the first time or the sixth time, I can't say that word today for some reason, I apologize. The 6th time, Okay? Every first time that you hit a chord in your right hand, you're going to hit the F sharps. And every sixth time that you play it, play that same chord within, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, pattern here, you're going to strike the C sharps. So it's going to alternate just like this. So all in all, it will be like this together with the right hand and the left hand playing at once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. And then when you get to the end, you're just going to play this little bass riff here. So it's going to be C sharp, F sharp, C sharp again, just like that. And that is the chorus for the song. Again, it's about what the track is doing itself. In this case, it's really also just emulating like what the piano, the tack piano is doing in the song. But yeah, you get the idea. But that is the chorus in a nutshell. Okay, now I'm going to get into the end tag. It is the end tag for the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version, but for the 66 backing track version, it is the bridge. And for that, I need to adjust the angle of my camera here. So I'm going to cut out for just a second, and when I get back, I'll have the camera reconfigured as it should be. Okay, back. So this next section, I'm going to be covering how to play the end portions of the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version of the song, which is also the bridge to the original 1966 backing track. Now, I want to point out something here, and that is I'm pretty much going to be sticking to what the piano in the track plays. I am not going to be trying to emulate what the string arrangement in the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version plays. You could try to emulate that. The actual sheet music that I have here tries to do it kind of a weird combination of the two. I don't really like that, where you're playing the piano for this part some of the time, and then you're playing the string arrangement melody the other part of the time. To me, it just doesn't sound as it should, because you still have to use your imagination in places. So I'm mostly just going to be sticking to what the piano plays here. The other key difference between the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version of this next section and the original 66 backing track version is, the amount of time that those sections are played. The 66 backing track version plays for a little bit longer, and I'll point out, how much longer and where that cutoff point occurs. I'm also going to be talking about the various ways you can end the song on like the last chord or the last notes, whatever the case may be, whatever you wish to use here, if you're going to be playing the Brian Wilson Presents Smile arrangement of the song. So in both the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version and the original 66 backing track version, this is the pattern. Your left hand is going to be playing this B. So this is this middle C on the keyboard, just for reference, we're middle C. But we're up here playing this B. And your right hand is going to be playing full chords, but they're broken chords, much like how Wonderful is broken chord, is comprised of broken chords, et cetera, et cetera. So it starts off like this. Okay, so B in the left hand. This first chord in your right hand is A, D, F sharp. And again, the pattern goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Just like that. 2 instances of playing that. So once again from the top. So your left hand never stops playing this B note, but your right hand is going to go up and down, this sequence here. So before we were playing A, D, F sharp, But for this next portion, we're gonna shift all those notes up by a full, what's the word? Why am I blanking on this? A full tone? No, that's not the word. But you know what I mean. You're moving it up. So you're not moving it up like in the small segments. You're not moving it up half tones. You're moving it up full notes. So this chord in the right hand is B, and then E and G sharp. So once again, from the top. Okay, so this final chord in the right hand is C sharp, F sharp, A. Just like that, and then you're gonna move down again to the previous chord. So you're moving up and down basically in this sequence. So from the top we have this. Playing a bit fast here, but you get the idea. Okay, for the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version, okay, what you're actually going to be doing is you're playing this sequence kind of 2.5 times, I'll say. And what I mean by that is this is the bottom of the pattern, okay? This is the bottom chord. This is the top chord. So the way that I keep track of this is for the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version, you only want to play this top chord twice. So when you know you've played the top chord twice, okay, or I mean twice total, not twice instance like this. I mean like, full pattern, playing like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so that's what I mean by 2 rounds, basically, is what I mean to say here. 2 rounds where you hit this top chord twice throughout this cycle. Then when you hit it, when you get it to that point, you're gonna play, you're gonna play this again, but you're gonna stop here. You're not going to get to this top chord the 3rd time around for the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version. It stops immediately prior to that. So, all in all, before you would otherwise get to that 3rd top chord, that's when it stops. Now, for the 66 backing track version, you don't want to stop there. Instead, what you want to do is you do want to play that top chord, just with the B. And play this middle chord again. But when you get to the end of that middle chord, and you've played it twice, that's when you transition into the end tag for the 66 backing track version, which I'll get into in a little bit later in this video. But I want to talk about first the various ways that you can end the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version first. So once you get to this point in the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version, there's a couple of different ways you can go about ending the song. The simplest way, and this is not my favorite way, but it is the simplest way, is you could just end it with this low B and just have it cut off there. Personally, that sounds a little bit anticlimactic, in my opinion. but that is an option if you're trying to go for like what the piano is playing at that point in the actual recorded version of the song. This isn't a bad way to end it, and it's actually the way that the song ends in the recorded version anyway. Similarly, you could also end it just like this. Instead of just ending it with that single B note, you could just play the chord and the B note at the same time all at once and just end it like that. I'm not a fan of ending the song like that. You can, and it sounds fine, but one of the best features about the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version is that kind of orchestral swell at the end that transitions the song into Surf's Up. And the way that you do that, and unfortunately it's a little bit harder to play, just because there's a bit of a jump that you have to make here. I'm going to do this slowly, but essentially, when you get to this point, oops, sorry, one more time. When you get to this point, oops, sorry, what you're really doing here is you're trying to mimic what the strings are doing for this particular portion. So they're first playing B and C sharp, just like this, and then it's ending like this. Both hands are essentially playing, or not even essentially, they're playing the exact same chord in both hands, or you're playing the exact same chord in both hands. So it's F sharp, A, D in both hands. Oops, wait. It's hard to play because, first off, this is quite a jump that you have to make. That sounded okay. There's a little bit of a misclick here, and hit a little bit of the E instead of the D in the left hand. But it's hard to play because of that jump and also how fast you have to play it. So if you actually listen to the backing track of the song, the studio backing track, this happens very quickly. So to make that jump and to play exactly what you need to play, it's a little tricky, it's a little hard. I mean, if you practice it, you'll get it. That much I'll say. It's practice, practice, practice. It's definitely doable. It's more important, in my opinion, to play it consistently than it is fast. Even though the studio version does play this rather fast, consistency is going to go a longer way in making it sound good than speed. So you could play it like that. The other thing you could do is you could end it, instead of playing the same chord in the left hand, you could play A's just like this. Now, that requires an even bigger jump, because instead of being up here, all of a sudden you got to move your hand down even further in a pretty short amount of time. But you could play it like that too. In the sheet music, that is actually how the sheet music is written to end the song, is with these doubled up A's in the left hand and this chord in the right hand. So you could end it like that as well. So there's really like 4 different ways you could go about ending the song. Personally, I am a big fan of this way, and that would be the way that I recommend ending the song, but it's, there's options. It's up to you. Okay, now I want to talk about how to end the 1966 backing track version, if that is the version that you wish to play. So I mentioned before that you're really going to play the bridge to the 66 backing track version, which is really the ending portion of the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version, a little bit longer than you would the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version. So unfortunately, because of the camera angle change, I can't quite show you what's going on, but you know what's going on if you've watched the previous section when I changed camera angles so that you could see it. I am going to play it even though you can't see it, but basically I said before that the top chord in that sequence, you're only going to play it twice. And right before you get to the third time, when you're playing that middle chord in that sequence, that is when you transition into the ending. However you choose to end the Brian Wilson Presents Smile version, if that's the version that you're choosing to play. But for the 66 backing track version, you're going to continue with that pattern, with that sequence. So you are going to play that top chord a third time. And then you're going to play the middle chord again on the descents. When you play that middle chord on the descent, your left hand is going to move all the way down the keyboard to the opposite end. So let me just play it from the top of the pattern. You know, the third time around, we're playing the top chord here. Okay, so this little descending bass note sequence, what you're playing is C sharp, D, E. Oops, sorry. C sharp, D, E, D, B, 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 A, G. Just like that. Okay, so that's the descending bass note sequence here that's going to transition you back into the chorus, which is going to end the song for the 66 backing track version, except it's a half chorus. So all together it will sound like this. And you just need a refresher about the chorus, just rewind the video, but I'll show you just how many times you should play everything here. Oops. Just like that. So when you get to that end of the half chorus, the only difference is you're gonna play that bottom F sharp at the end. So once again, it will sound like this in completion. And that's it. That is the end of the song. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. I have more piano covers of Beach Boys songs and Smile songs coming up in the near future. So if you enjoyed this content, if you found it useful, please consider subscribing. And I have more tutorials as well on the way if that's what you're interested in. All right, thanks so much. Peace.